The first presentation is Bay Point Chamber of Commerce, Brad Clark.
This is what I'll speak off from. I was asked to provide kind of an overall update for the chamber. So what I'm going to be talking off from is actually a modified sheet that I used in providing Supervisor Glover a quarterly update. We, as the chamber, meet with him quarterly, and I actually just met with him at the beginning of June. So we've had a couple of updates since then, and I'll include those in what I talk about today. Again, my name is Brad Clark. I'm the current president of the Bay Point Chamber. Let me also recognize Pina Gonzalez, our treasurer with the chamber. I guess the biggest change actually lately for us is that we have a new, what we call chief admin officer, otherwise known as secretary. We kind of elevated the position. Julie Nelson left us back in April. Mimi Stouffer, who's actually a retired employee of General Chemical, we hired in May. So she started on May 1st, and she's been a good breath of fresh air. She comes with a lot of ideas and energy. For those of you in Ambrose, you see her here on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the office, from 10 to 2. So she's a great addition to the chamber, and she's helping us to become even more visible than we have been. As far as chamber membership, we're still, I shouldn't say still because we've actually added a few members. We're in the neighborhood of about 45 either individuals or companies that are members of the chamber. And just like any organization, we have a couple of goals, including increased membership, but we also recognize that we need to bring value to those members. So that's one reason why we're trying to be more visible and be more involved in the community, and I'll talk more about those things in a second. But the more recent new members have been PG&E, Habitat for Humanity East Bay, Brighter Beginnings, Winston Graham, who's with Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance, and also Art Garcia, who's a photographer out of Pittsburgh. We've had some others over the last year, but those are the most recent additions. As far as 2012 events, I talk about recent ones, near-term ones, and then longer-term ones. So I realize the audience doesn't have this piece of paper, but recent events, we, as the chamber, have a piece of Willow Pass over by the Welcome to Bay Point sign that we are responsible for in the Adopt a Road program. And we had our most recent cleanup there on April 28th, although with the wind and the fact that things grow, we need to go back out there again, and right now we're tentatively scheduled for July 21st to do another cleanup in the area on Willow Pass right by the sign and where the sign is itself. The Memorial Day service, this was, we've been doing it for a number of years. Of course, the Garden Club heads up the parade and the other events on Memorial Day, but the chamber organizes the service that takes place at 9 o'clock that morning. So we did that back on May 28th again, and we'll continue to do that. We've recently resurrected our lunch presentations / mixers. The one we had back in June was actually, the speaker was Dr. Bill Wattenberg. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a very interesting guy, a very smart guy. He currently is on News Talk 910 AM radio, which is KKSF, the Open Line to America program. And he talked to us about some of his thoughts on energy and alternatives to things like oil. So that was a really good presentation. I'm going to try to have him back. It'll be probably in a year, but a great speaker. And then we were here as a chamber at the Unity and Community on the 23rd. Near term, and I want to make sure that everybody in this room knows about these next couple of programs if you don't already. Our lunch mixer in July will be State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson. And there's some of these that are actually out right outside the office here in Ambrose. I'll put these in the back of the room. Again, Friday, July 20th for Superintendent Torlakson, and then in August 16th, Supervisor Glover will be our speaker. and they will both be at the Wedgewood over at the Pittsburgh Golf Course from 12 to 1:30. Okay. We invite anybody to come. There is a charge. For chamber members, it's $20. For non-members, it's $25. But the food's real good. And we try to get good speakers too. So I hope and I believe that both the July presentation and the August presentation will be very well attended. Longer term, the Bay Point yard sale, I don't think there's a date set yet with Ambrose. The last I had gotten from Terry was sometime in August or September. We'll plan on other breakfasts, lunches, and mixers in the fall timeframe, so just look for announcements like this, announcements in our biz news, which I'll talk about in a second. But there will be more after August. We just don't have them scheduled yet. And then finally, the holiday celebration here at Ambrose. Of course, Ambrose heads up that program. We're involved primarily in the carriage rides that we've done now the last couple of years, so we'll do that again in December. As far as Keller Canyon Mitigation Fund grants, we actually just finished up the one that we had for 2011 to 12, which was the installation. It's the installation of the new sign, which isn't yet up on Bailey Road, but will be soon, and then the continued maintenance, essentially, of the sign over on Willow Pass. For 2012, 2013, the Bay Point Chamber submitted 3 grant requests for the Keller Canyon funds. And like everybody else that submitted requests, we should know in August. I believe the date's August 28th. Chamber newsletter. Again, this is also out in the hall, right on the other side of this wall. We put out a newsletter every 2 months. This is the June edition. I would suggest you pick one up and read it. If you have any comments to it, please let us know. For anybody interested in advertising, there is ad space in the newsletter. And it's a good way for us to continue to get our word out. So the next one will be the August edition, which will be out toward the end of July. In 2013, we'll be putting out our next hard copy version of our directory. We haven't had a hard copy version out in a couple of years. The soft copy version is on our website, which is baypointchamber.org. Okay, you can get on there, and as we have new members, we update that. But we plan on putting out the 2013 directory at the end of 2012. Quarterly meetings, like I said, with Supervisor Glover. The most recent was on June 6th. The next one is scheduled. We schedule these basically for the year. The next one is scheduled for October 3rd. And that's just a, kind of a private sit down with Supervisor Glover to let him know what we're doing, and just as importantly, get input or feedback from him as to things he'd like to see us do. And that kind of leads to the last comment I have on this sheet of paper, which is the 2013 emphasis. Gloria Magleby started this organization, as I think you all know, and she did a great job pulling people in. One thing that we've tried to do over the last couple of years is to continue to increase the awareness of people that Bay Point has a Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of the things that we've been involved in have just been, hopefully adding to the value of living in this community. Not necessarily business directed. As a business Chamber of Commerce, that's kind of the next step we're going to take in 2013. That's not to say that we're not going to continue to do the things that we do, but we want to add more of a business focus to what we do as a chamber. And what that means is attracting business to Bay Point, which will ultimately, I think, help us all out, those of us who live here or work here. So that's kind of the general plan for 2013. And that's my update. Do you have any questions?
Do you have the fee for joining? Is it the one standard fee, or do you, like, for small business owners, have a different fee, or?
We have a varied fee structure. And in fact, we added a level, it's not in the newsletter now, I don't think. We added a level of 150 for individual business, essentially. We also added an upper level, which is $5,000 for anybody that's interested. For we call it the rhodium level. And we haven't yet gotten the business to commit to $5,000, but the key word is yet. We will. Yeah. And so the higher levels, basically, if if you look at this newsletter, we've got the higher level members listed here, rhodium, which is blank, platinum, gold, silver, et cetera. They're essentially up to the discretion of either the individual or the company. We don't base it on number of employees like some organizations.
Chair recognizes.
Hey, Brad, you skipped over the welcome to Bay Point sign dedication. And this says July to be arranged.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Like I said, that was the one grant that we had for 2011, 2012. We've spent the majority of the money that we got in the grant just because we had to make a progress payment for the actual construction of the sign.
No, I'm under B2.
Right, right.
You
So
speak on
that's
that?
the sign that's gonna be on Bailey Road.
Oh, that's not
Okay.
the one over here.
No, that one's
Oh,
done.
okay.
Except for the continued maintenance of it. This is the one that's gonna be on the median on Bailey Road, just this side of McDonald's. And the sign, or the company that's constructing the sign is also actually installing the sign.
Okay.
And that's probably gonna be installed in July.
Got it.
This month.
Chair recognizes Vicky.
And how many members, total members do you have now?
We're up to about 45.
Any other questions? Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.